Let's go. It was a rough day for AR5. Is it done? Is this experiment cooked? I mean, I didn't like this play. I actually did watch it from the All-22. The vertical here didn't ever even look for the football. And this play was dead and dropped. All right, so we get to here. This is really good stuff. So JT had a really nice run on the play before this. So you get the RPO read. You see this guy bites into the box. You want to throw this football all day, every day to Ashton Dulin. So obviously the Colts have not had Josh Downs during this 0-2 start. But Alec Pierce has stepped up, and Dulin has done really well in that down slot role. This was a disaster class, okay? Play action fake, only 2 deep drops, and some leaking receivers after the fact. You have a 3-on-2 here, basically, versus a single high look. This is actually on Jonathan Taylor, who makes a huge, and I mean huge, pass protection mistake. Get the play action fake, A-gap blitzer, and Taylor just whiffs. So Quay Walker has a lot of pressure here on AR, and it forces him to throw this Alec Pierce inbreaker that if it was accurately thrown, this is a huge gainer, okay? The issue is Anthony Richardson didn't want to step in here and take a hit, okay? If you're going to fade away on this throw, notice his feet is not in the direction of the target, right? His feet is in the direction of the leaking tight end right here. And with your hips that wide open, it's going to cause this ball to sail. On these deep shots, especially if you're down 10-0 and you're 0-1 on the season on the road, you've really got to step in and just take whatever damage comes along with it, okay? So an accurate ball is delivered for a huge explosive here to Alec Pierce. If you have better protection here, Alec Pierce isn't the target. It's Michael Pittman for a walk-in touchdown. And I want you to see how unbelievably inaccurate this ball is. Alec Pierce is as athletic of a receiver you're going to see in the NFL. He's 6'3" and has amazing vertical, has ridiculous speed as well. And this ball is way, and I mean way over his head, and it's a pick. Some really good offense here. Obviously, going into this game, you have to respect Alec Pierce when it comes to a deep option. You also got to respect, obviously, all the Colts receivers. They're all really good deep options. And all that verticality clears out all the space for an easy Anthony Richardson check down to one of the best guys after the touch in the NFL, and Jonathan Taylor. And look at him just run through an arm tackle. Obviously, you want to show leniency to a rookie. 1:56 left to go in the third quarter. You've just got to make this throw. I mean, there's just no other way around it. And this time, Anthony Richardson has all the mechanics down pat and throws a really, really good football right to A.D. Mitchell in the chest, and he drops it. So Jonathan Taylor had been gashing the Packers on this drive. So this time, the Tennessee Volunteers run this play better than anybody, pro or college. Play action fake, and you leak the tight end right up the middle, right up the seam, okay? And he actually didn't go over the middle. He had an outside release on that backer, still practically the same thing. And finally, no Cyril Grayson, right? I think Mo Alley Cox is a better player, and he falls forward. I know the Colts only had 3 points from that last drive, but their run game was really good. And after showing them a bunch of different looks, and they also showed them a screen earlier, now you're just pulling Quentin Nelson, your best player, around the corner here, and he's able to get around. It's a good job by Dulin. And now you're getting your best player out in space making plays, and that's just excellent, excellent, excellent stuff. And Jonathan Taylor on the ground freaking cooked. And the Packers knew that the Colts are going to want to run the football. So JT on the ground, really freaking good. It always helps having a dual threat weapon in Anthony Richardson. And once again, the RPO stuff keeps cooking, okay? After that long run, you spell JT on a carry. You still have to do the fake, though, and Alec Pierce falls forward. All right, we get to this 3rd and 1. I'm not the biggest fan of being in tight formations on short yardage, but if you are going to do it, at least get creative. I think this was a pretty big mistake right here by Anthony Richardson, okay? If you're going to run the option, I much prefer my quarterbacks when they run the option to not get as flat, but run a little bit more direct to the edge defender, okay? You see, if you get to this point and you decide to go flat, you need to fake this and then get vertical, okay? What you don't want to do is, as a quarterback, allow this edge defender to play both. And that's essentially what happens here, okay? And you give 45 a lot of credit for making a really good play on this. But by not running at him, he's able to stop and not worry about you running him over. He doesn't mind you running this way. And then immediately he can see and actually really burst down the field if you actually do pitch it, right? And look at how far back you are when you do this, okay? If you commit to him, it forces him to make a choice, right? So AR just ran this really poorly. RB didn't get a good clean catch on it, get a missed block by Pierce to the outside, and it is a huge, huge loss. Now, the issue is it's hard to rep the option in practice. So the Colts, because they lost so many yardage, they had to kick a field goal. They missed it, and obviously now you're down by 2 touchdowns. So field goals are kind of just out of the equation to a certain extent at this point with 10:50 left to go. And it is just disappointing from the Colts, who showed some offensive promise versus the Texans last week, to now not basically do anything, only 3 points through 3 quarters. Now, Anthony Richardson makes up for it with this absolute freaking dart right here to A.D. Mitchell. These are 2 of the most exciting young players in the league, and I can't wait to see these 2 grow. All right, and you get this from Anthony Richardson. Man, this is just horrendous quarterback play, okay? Like, it does not get much worse than this. You have a clean pocket. You're down by 2 scores. I understand you have to score a touchdown, but, man, you should never throw this inbreaker to Michael Pittman. And something that I think happens a lot more to QBs than you would like to expect is when you have a marquee receiver like Michael Pittman and he hasn't been making big plays so far this season, you kind of want to get him going, right? You want to force things into him. All right, 2nd and 8, okay? Now, as always, defenses get in 2 minutes. So it's not really as impressive pretty much anything you do. With that said, this is redunculous, okay? Smart move to not throw this to Pittman. Also, you're stepping up into the pocket, helping out your offensive lineman. Anthony Richardson's really good at not taking sacks. You're athletic enough to get this football over a defensive tackle who's right in your lap and also throw this ball still with a lot of velocity in this window to Alec Pierce, okay? Freaking ridiculous quarterback play right there. As good as it gets, honestly. All right, here we go. We get to this 3rd and 1. Once again, I don't think Anthony Richardson trusts Grayson. I just don't. They've always had brutal chemistry, at least this year, okay? So AR thinks about throwing this into the flat. Grayson is open right here, okay? He doesn't want to rip it for whatever reason. I don't know. You should definitely take this and just move the chains, all right? But he decides to go make a play. And there might be 3 other quarterbacks in the NFL that could get around a contained defender that easily. This is a good job by the lineman not running down the field because they know he can still throw. And eventually, instead of just taking these yards, which honestly in this situation, I would tell Anthony Richardson just to take these yards, especially if it was on 4th down, because you don't know if a lineman's down the field or not. But he does make this tightrope throw here to Alec Pierce, and he's able to get out of bounds. Now I hope you subscribe, ring the bell for more Colts and just everything NFL film breakdowns. Now, this is, to me, the most fascinating call of the game. Let's start with the offensive side. Actually, let's start with the defensive side. One quick thing. This was another one of those false starts. Okay, he's way out of his stance this time. But, you know, if it's kind of close to the snap, I'm fine with never calling it. So the Packers actually do bring a nickel blitz. But what's very fascinating here is they actually zone blitz their defensive tackles. That is rare. That is so rare that you do that. And guess what? The Colts pick it up. Now, let's take a look at the Colts route concepts. You know you have really good pass protection here. One of my favorite things to run versus deep zones with defenders on their heels is dagger, okay? So essentially what dagger is an inside vertical and an in-breaker from the number one receiver behind it, okay? Now, why is dagger a good concept? Well, oftentimes the vertical can take two of the quarters corners, or it could take, versus cover three, the deep safety and the deep third over here, okay? So dagger, this is actually a really good route by Pittman. He's patient, and he kind of just runs behind it, and he's right here, okay? So if Anthony Richardson scans backside, he's got Michael Pittman here for a touchdown. Now, let's pick it up from the other angle. And you'll see Pittman at the top of the regular broadcast. He was indeed open, and this throw is getting there. He's scoring if you throw this. But what I think actually happened here is Anthony Richardson said, oh, this looks like a defensive tackle. I know for sure I can outrun him to the sticks. But notice, Kenny Clark, I would love to know his next-gen top speed here. He actually cuts him off and gets a piece of him right here. That is ridiculous athleticism from a DT who's played a full game, but AR does pick up the first down. So we get to this 1st and goal, and this is just Anthony Richardson making a play. He starts off looking to the left. Everything is covered, so you always want to work backside if that's the case. And Alec Pierce, very patient route. He's now running to the corner, and he's going to be wide open, okay? I thought for a second this was going to be an overthrow, but it's right on target, and Pierce gets a touchdown in a second consecutive game. Alrighty, Colts fans, I don't hate you. Trust me, Peyton Manning is my favorite NFL player of all time. So, understand that I do not take this lightly when I say that Anthony Richardson is in big trouble, okay? This also should have been a pick. He threw it right to the backer. Obviously, your backs are against the wall with no timeouts. You get lucky, and Alec Pierce makes another great catch. Now, let me first defend Anthony Richardson, right? There was actually a play where Alec Pierce slipped, and he was open for a big throw, and he put it right on the money, and Pierce slipped, like we just said. Michael Pittman's not playing his best. Is he a fit even with Anthony Richardson? No. Josh Downs. Protection hasn't been the best. I think some would say Steichen hasn't been the absolute best. And this ended up being a very viral clip because Quentin Nelson did not blindside 55 here. But the truth here is ultimately it comes back to your quarterback. And Anthony Richardson, this is the concerning thing, right? And this is why, I got some angry emails. I got some angry Twitter messages. By the way, at Card of the Power, please go give me a follow. When I did a breakdown on some of Anthony Richardson's preseason shortcomings. And when I first started, doing Colts content, I was just like a lot of other people, really enamored with the upside of Anthony Richardson. But as I started watching more snaps, and obviously I watch, I would say 78 to 85%, those are random numbers, of his snaps at Florida. This game is actually more of what Anthony Richardson has been compared to what he's not been, right? A 50% thrower with a bunch of INTs with some cartoonish athleticism and amazing plays. A perfect example of this is this absolutely ridiculous Hail Mary throw, right? I do give Indianapolis on this desperation play a lot of credit for their protection, giving Anthony Richardson a chance. I also give the Packers a lot of credit for actually bringing a blitz. I don't think teams blitz enough in this situation, but this is as good a pass protection I've seen on a Hail Mary blitz in a while. So you can tell the Colts really do rep this, but you don't want to be in this spot, especially versus the Packers and Malik Willis, right? You felt pretty good about the Colts going into this game, and obviously defensively, they just could not stop Josh Jacobs, the Colts. But in a game where you only give up 16 points, you expect Anthony Richardson to go out there and win it. Once again, it is a team effort. There's a lot of other people, the drops, we know it, but it is what it is at this point. Now, floating in your face, some other videos.